Hey guys, today we are going to talk about ancillary matters in the context of divorce in Singapore. Now, what are ancillary matters? Well, ancillary matters include custody, care and control of children, access to children, maintenance of the children, and maintenance of the ex-spouse, and division of matrimonial assets. I'm going to briefly talk about the different ancillary matters. Now, for custody, the default in Singapore is that both parents have custody of the children. Custody refers to the big decisions such as religion, the health of the child, the education of the child, whether the child can go overseas to study. These are the big decisions. So parents usually have joint custody. It is quite rare for a parent to have sole custody unless the other parent did something really bad or they did some negotiation and decided that one parent should have sole custody. Now, what is care and control? Care and control of children refers to where the child stays. Care and control is usually granted to the mother in Singapore. So usually, in the event of a divorce, the children would usually stay with the mother. But the father is granted access. So the parties usually have to discuss how much access the father has to the children. Is it unlimited access, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, on weekends, any overnight stays? Now, let's talk about maintenance of children. Parents have a duty to maintain their children until they reach the age of 21, unless the child is disabled or there are special circumstances. For example, by the time the child turns 21, he's still in university, then of course both parents have an obligation to pay and maintain the child until he finishes university. Next, maintenance of the spouse. In Singapore, the wife usually has a right to maintenance, and it's up to the parties to discuss and negotiate maintenance. Maintenance can take the form of a lump sum payment, perhaps $200,000, or it could take the form of monthly payments. Sometimes parties to a divorce agree that the wife shall be entitled to maintenance of $1. So what the purpose of this is to leave the door open, because the wife is granted maintenance of $1. So this leaves room for future amendments to it. For example, in future, if the wife is currently working, has a good job, she may only ask for $1 maintenance. But in the future, perhaps a few years down the road, she becomes disabled, she's jobless and all that. The fact that she is asking for $1 or has asked for $1 in the past allows her to make an application to the court to increase it, to perhaps $500 or $1,000 after her circumstances change. Now, the last ancillary matter that I'm going to talk about is division of matrimonial assets. Division of matrimonial assets is quite a large topic, so I will deal with it in a separate video. Basically, the court will take into account the parties' financial contribution during the marriage, as well as non-financial contribution. For example, the wife giving up her job to stay at home, take care of the children, clean the house. This is called non-financial contribution. So, ancillary matters are dealt with in the second stage of the divorce process, after the interim judgment is granted. First, the court will grant the interim judgment. That means something like temporary judgment. And then the court will deal with the ancillary matters. After the ancillary matters have been dealt with, then the court will issue a final judgment. So, the determination of the ancillary matters will start at the ancillary matters case conference, which signals the beginning of the second stage of divorce proceedings. The purpose of the ancillary matters case conference is to determine whether or not the parties can settle the ancillary matters among themselves amicably. The Ancillary Matters Conference is held at the Family Justice Courts by a court counsellor or at the Family Resolutions Chambers. So, if an agreement between the husband and wife is reached as to the ancillary matters, which I discussed earlier, if they can agree, then a draft consent order has to be prepared and signed by both parties. So this order will contain all the agreed matters like maintenance, division of matrimonial assets, who has custody, who has care and control, who has access. So it will all be drafted and then it will be uploaded to court. This will then be followed by a consent ancillary matters hearing. What happens if the parties cannot settle? What if the wife wants the matrimonial home? The husband says no. What if the wife wants maintenance of $10,000 a month? The husband says no, I can't afford it. What happens? Then the court will direct the parties to file an affidavit of assets and means, basically to show what are their assets and their jobs and all that. So the judges expect parties to have a duty of full and frank disclosure of their assets. The judges take this very seriously. If the judge suspects that the parties are not making full and frank disclosure, they are concealing their assets or they are under-declaring their income or their assets, then the court may make an adverse inference against the lying party. So, after 3 rounds of the affidavit of assets and means, a contested ancillary matters hearing will be held where the judge will make the decision. So, an order for maintenance supplements the order for the division of matrimonial assets. So first they divide the property, okay, the matrimonial property and including matrimonial home. They will make a decision, is it 50-50, 40%, 60%. After they make the division of matrimonial assets, then the court will decide on maintenance, whether it's necessary or not. As mentioned earlier, the court may order lump sum maintenance or monthly maintenance depending on the financial means of the husband, and the court will also consider the lifestyle that the wife was used to before the divorce. The rationale for deciding on division of matrimonial assets first and then on the maintenance, the reason for this is to even out any residual financial inequalities. This was laid down in the Singapore case of BG and BF in 2007. So where a wife is financially independent, maintenance may be denied to the wife. This was laid down in the case of ASP and ASQ. As for husbands, the court is reluctant to award maintenance to husbands unless like the husband spends the entire marriage, giving up his job, taking care of the children, or the husband is disabled in a wheelchair. There's really no way for him to earn money. So in such serious circumstances, the wife may be ordered to pay maintenance to the husband instead. So thanks for watching this video on Ancillary Matters.